Oh my gosh, bless you all for being here so early in the morning. You're very brave. Good morning. Hi. Hi. So my name's Lucy. As Celie said, I am a professional adventure cartoonist, which is not a common job title. I have been previously a lighting designer, a farmer's market entrepreneur, a bookseller, a playwright, a tall ship sailor, a receipt filer, a backpacker, and a journalist and illustrator, to name just a few things. But I only became an adventure cartoonist at the start of this year because I started calling myself one. It's a really great job title. I highly recommend it. It encapsulates everything I want to do with my life right now, which is essentially go on adventures and make comics about going on adventures. It's good. But I didn't start out knowing that this was a real job. I didn't tell people I wanted to be an adventure cartoonist in kindergarten. I didn't read about notable adventure cartoonists in the encyclopedia. So I wanted to talk about what it looks like to live your way into an imaginary career and maybe inspire other people to do the same thing along the way. I'm the child of 2 English immigrants, and this meant that I spent my childhood assuming that was the reason I didn't feel at home among my American peers. To me, England was this mystical land entirely populated by old stone buildings and bookish, witty people who would laugh at my jokes instead of the way I pronounced the word vitamin. I had this idea that if I got back there to that space, to that country, I would finally feel like I belonged. And it didn't turn out that way. I went back a bunch, and I did find old stone buildings and bookish, witty people who laughed at my jokes instead of the way I pronounced the word vitamin. But I also found lots of hideous modern shopping centers and people I had nothing in common with, and I felt just as out of place there as I did back home. It began to dawn on me that I was never going to find this Shangri-La of belonging that I felt I had been promised as a child, at least not by simply up and moving to a different country. I began to ask my parents about why they had stayed in America, and they agreed that there was something sad about not being fully in one place or the other. When they were here, they missed it there. When they went back there, they realized what was special about being here. I started thinking a lot about what being here felt like and what being there felt like. I wanted to become a card-carrying member of some third society that was neither here nor there, but somewhere in between, and I wasn't really certain that such a thing could possibly exist. When we are young, we are presented with a set of pretty basic, isolated end goal, career, and identity options, right? Do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a firefighter? Nobody really tells you that your curiosity, your life experience, is going to determine a lot about what kind of doctor or firefighter you become. You can become a firefighting doctor, man. I mean, how cool is that, right? You've got like baby on one hand, thermometer at the ready, fire extinguisher, hat, cool sunglasses. I don't know which part the cool sunglasses are from, but like, let's roll with it. So it all depends. It's all up to you. When I tell people how many times I switched majors in college, I feel this flicker of self-consciousness because we shy away from being called indecisive. It's not cool, you know? No waffling. Absolutely no waffling allowed. For a while, I felt like abandoning my burgeoning career in theater or in classics to turn to a life of making comics was an irreparable departure. Surely this new job title invalidated my previous job title because, again, you can only be one thing at a time, right? This is what happens when grown-ups ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? The cultural narrative drives us towards singular nouns, like artist or lawyer, doctor, firefighter, when we could be choosing adjectives, like passionate or curious, words that might leave room for a plurality of skills and obsessions. This is why I was particularly excited to speak at Creative Mornings this month of all other possible months, and why Celia asked me about this many moons ago, because this theme in particular is near and dear to my heart, and I think it might provide us with a solution to this problem. But okay, before we get to the solution, we should unpack the legacy of this word. it can be really easy to stumble into a space that is new to you and believe, at least for a moment, that you are the first to experience it. Any discussion of pioneers also has to account for trends of exploitation and colonialism. The ideal of the lone explorer is often glorified by a domineering power that seeks to subjugate those it discovers, right? There's a lot of this. There's like, let me tell you about your experience. I'm a person, a straight white man who knows how to do things. As we move through the world, we have to be aware of who our curiosity is serving and maintain respect for the subjects that we want to learn about. So I say this as a disclaimer, let us take it on good faith that we're all going to strive to be conscientious as we rewrite the definition of pioneer spirit to something that is less exploitative and more self-aware. Cool? Cool. Okay, so what makes a pioneer? First off, good news, not just a noun, it's a verb. I mean, doctor is also a verb, but like, let's just pretend that this is the only noun that is also a verb. Pioneers are fundamentally curious. They want to see what's just over the next ridge. They want to discover whether the stories are true. Becoming an adventure cartoonist has involved pioneering a new field that blends my love of illustration and storytelling with my passion for the outdoors. In that role, I spent an evening last week teaching a bunch of grade schoolers about the history of scurvy, seriously the best job ever. We spent a long time discussing how scientists figured out that vitamin C deficiency was at the root of the scourge, which is a long story that I won't go into here, but please buy my book if you're interested. And side note, kids are really sensitive to when you pronounce words weird, so I try so hard when I do school presentations to say vitamin every time, and at the reading on Monday, I slipped up once, and the minute it happened, you could hear all the kids like, it's like grade school all over again for me. It's terrible. Why is this my job? No, it's still the best job. So for the purposes of this talk, we're going to assume that the vitamin C, the C in vitamin C, stands for curiosity. All right? Roll with me here. When we box ourselves too tightly into a single identity or career path, we deprive ourselves of the nutrient necessary to remain connected to the world around us. We are lacking in vitamin curiosity. And then this happens. Which, like, I want to know how many Creative Mornings talks this month are going to have Oregon Trail jokes in them, but, like, let's be real, we earned this. This is our game. So please, everybody, tweet this at all the other Creative Mornings chapters and be like, come at me. I think we're also the earliest Creative Mornings talk this month, so thanks for turning around and doing this so quickly after the last one. Okay, so how do we avoid this particularly gruesome fate? Scurvy is not pretty. Childhood is 100% pioneer territory, right? It's a landscape of novelty and obsession. It's very easy to obsess when everything is new to you. The further along I get into my weird made-up job, the more I realize that the stuff I obsessed over as a kid inescapably shaped who I am today. I didn't always think consciously about this, because we're generally told that it's what you study in school that makes you who you are, and what they give us in school is pretty limited. But it turns out that each singular career I listed at the start of this talk is relevant in some way to what I do now. A large part of my job as a cartoonist involves drawing from my maritime experience as a tall ship sailor. Again, not a sentence lots of people get to say. Pioneering! When people asked, I generally told them that my obsession with the subject matter germinated in high school. But then I took a trip home to see my family earlier this year, and I discovered boxes and boxes full of really early sketches, like these. I'm particularly fond of the top hats on all of these fish down in the bottom corner. Also, the fact that young Lucy didn't really grasp that SS stands for steamship, and these are very clearly sailing vessels, but like, we're gonna just let that slide for now. Excellent grasp of anatomy, very strong. And lots of coloring books like these. There was a whole roll of these that were like different historical ships. This one's kind of been eaten by rats because, well, we won't go into what my parents' house is like, but there's some rodent issues. And also, ultimately, grade school essays like these that I'd forgotten about when I built a boat in 5th grade, maybe? Which my favorite part is the time when you're about to launch the boat. This is a time of suspense. Also, I don't think I spelled miserably correct, but you know, that's, and it went okay. The boat went okay. It wasn't a huge success, but anyway. So this is like, my career obviously started earlier than that, my obsession with this started earlier, and I was really convinced that my manic pixie boat phase started in high school when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, and it was like really cool to be into boat stuff. Turns out, in it before it was cool. It's very exciting. So just as the westward expansion wasn't the first mass migration, and me making comics about the great outdoors, it's not as novel as I might make it out to be. There have been plenty of notable adventure cartoonists, if not in name, then certainly in spirit. They were mostly expedition artists on voyages or in battlefields at times when illustration was the visual medium for news, not photography. But I only started finding out about them after I had claimed my latest hybrid job title. So consider the passions and practices of your life as interlocking pieces in a child's action figure set, right? If you've seen Spirited Away, there are these awesome Ghibli heads that like roll around and stack on top of each other. So every piece in this can be stacked differently. Sometimes, for me, the artist is on top. Sometimes the sailor runs the show. Sometimes it's the manager. They can all reconfigure depending on what I'm doing. But all of you are always a third thing that combines all of these elements into something more that's greater than the sum of its parts. My studio mate in college was a gal by the name of Kathleen Conahan. And Kathleen was an authorized operator of the college's nuclear reactor. It's a research-focused reactor, not, it's very, very safe. But she was also an art major, and she made these amazing, huge, this book is like this tall, hand-bound artist books that are all about the half-lives of radioactive isotopes, which is really cool. Like this galaxy mirrors this table, and then all of the sizes of the stars correspond to the different half-lives. And like there's this whole enormous chart here with these different isotopes. Anyway, it's really cool, right? Those two identities aren't mutually exclusive. They are mutually transformative. They add to one another. And humans play around with these kinds of meaning-making systems all the time. Yeah, tarot cards, resumes, dating profiles, like we are constantly choosing what to foreground and what to conceal. But we don't always think, I'm pioneering Tinder. Like, we're not walking in and saying, I'm gonna form an entirely new type of human today. And we don't always consider everything that's in our arsenal of passions and skills to be relevant when we're doing that process. So I want to nudge you all to expand your definitions of what counts in your lives as relevant information in this exercise. Because the longer I do this, the more I begin to realize that it is all relevant. Whatever's brought you here, it's probably not just your job. You're probably really curious about something. I mean, not to do with this talk, like, is it true that Lucy Bellwood walks through the world on the legs of 6 dead men? Yes. But there's a reason I'm staying behind this podium. But maybe you're curious about something in the world in general, right? And I'm curious about what that something is, and about whether you give yourself space in your professional life to explore it. So we're going to do a brief exercise. If you have a phone, you can write on your phone. If you have a little notebook, maybe get that out now. There are no wrong answers, and I find this works best if you just keep your pen or your fingers moving no matter what. Even if you're writing lies, you can always come back and do this exercise at a more measured pace down the line. But we're going to take 1 minute to answer the following question. I'll tell you when the minute starts. What fascinated you as a child? Could you name every dinosaur? Were you fond of a particular type of food? What was your favorite book? Right, being a kid is essentially an exercise in sequential obsession. So go nuts, we're gonna play some music, I'm gonna set a timer for a minute, and off you go. All right, that's it for that one. Excellent, excellent, good. Okay, so this final one, there are, again, no wrong answers. You can make something up and then go back and do it later, revise it, revisit this. Don't get too worried. But we're going to get all Island of Dr. Moreau up in this. I would like you to Venn diagram 3 of these skills and passions. You can choose totally at random. Get your neighbor to choose. That would be really fun. Pass your list to your neighbor, only if you're feeling brave. And match ones that feel right together, or maybe random ones, and come up with a new fictional job title for yourself. I want you all to find your own adventure cartoonist today. Give me like a Frankenstein mishmash of your wildest dreams and capabilities and weird passions. I asked my housemate what she would suggest for this, and she just mimed picking her nose for a long time, and I guess like she's really good at that, so that's good to know. So this could be like an avian taxonomy coder or a geologic bedroom curator. I don't know. Pick something. I didn't buy quite enough blank name tags, so hopefully everyone got a blank name tag, but if you didn't, my goal is for all of you to write your new weird fictional job and stick it on your chest, or like write it on your existing name tag, or just walk around loudly proclaiming, hey, I'm great at picking my nose. No, I don't know, whatever your thing is. And I will give you 30 seconds, and then you guys can keep working on this while I keep yakking, all right? Away you go. Keep fiddling with these as I talk about the rest of this stuff. I really enjoyed seeing all of you who like got your cha-cha on in your individual seats. Thank you for dancing before 10 a.m. on a weekday. Okay, so the goal of this exercise is not to assume that everything in your life must have job-related utility. That's, you are allowed to explore for the sake of exploration without making it your new weird side hustle. There's like a lot of talk about side hustles right now. A large part of curiosity is just meandering around in the woods. But I also don't want us to fall prey to the idea that our curiosity must be quarantined from our work lest we become distracted or waffly. No waffling. We don't want to check the very thing that defines us at the door because it might not match the dress code. In the process of casting around for that mysterious third society I talked about at the beginning of the talk, I learned that feeling like an outsider didn't always correspond to the traits that I assumed it would. People I had thought had no reason to feel out of place generally did. They had just learned to hide it by toughening up or becoming fluent in other idioms or doubling down on a singular identity. We are all of us grappling with some delicate blend of class, sexuality, race, gender, so on, as we move through the world. And we're constantly searching for something that gels with our own foundational beliefs about what is right or wrong or good or bad, even as those beliefs continue to evolve in real time, in response to our environment and our community. That is a really tall order if you just want to feel like you belong. We are all pioneers because the world will not give any of us a singular noun that defines who we really are. Each of us must find a sense of belonging for the first time in our own lives. Belonging is not a country. It's not singular. It's not a noun. If anything, I would say it's a network. It's a community. And we have to make communities. We have to knit them together with these shared passions and vulnerability and kindness and encouragement. When we meet other people who are struggling to feel at home in the world, we can choose to discredit their pain, or we can acknowledge that it reflects some portion of our own lived experience. Those weird skills and fascinations and individual backgrounds that we all carry could open up something really intriguing in ourselves and also in each other. Enthusiasm is a communicable disease, unlike scurvy. So I want to challenge you to revisit some of the passions of your early childhood list this month, right? Feed them a little bit. Make some space for them in your work or in your thoughts. Maybe share them with a friend. You don't have to inspire someone to do exactly what you're doing, although I will note that I have met other tall ship sailing cartoonists, which is really bonkers, but all of them are doing something so unique. There's a gal in Sweden making comics about tall ship sailing on Scratchboard, which comics are already labor-intensive enough, and carving away the negative image of something with a small knife on a moving vessel is next level, so hats off to her. But it doesn't feel like she's encroaching on my territory because it's just exciting to see that there's someone else in the world doing this weird blend of stuff that I've got going on, but with their own flavor. It's really cool. So whatever you can do will hopefully inspire other people to look at what they want to be doing. I don't need all of you to go out of here and become adventure cartoonists, but I do want all of you to go out of here and become your weird new name tag reality. Just for a day. Just try it on. It's Friday. No one's going to notice. It's fine. And consider what it might look like to live a life that foregrounds and encourages curiosity. Make sure you get plenty of vitamin C. Thank you. Yay!